Lesson 17, Part 1, the imperative mood. We've seen before that mood communicates a verb's relationship to reality. There are four moods in Greek: the indicative, subjunctive, optative, and imperative. The indicative deals with actuality, and the subjunctive, imperative, and optative moods deal with potentiality. In the indicative mood, everything is stated as a fact. Whether or not it actually is fact does not matter. The point is that the speaker is presenting it as a fact, not as potentiality. The sky is blue, the sky is red. Is the sky blue? First one's a statement of fact, second one is false, and the third one is a question, but they're all presented factually. The indicative mood can also be used for fiction, for lies, for joking, for sarcasm, and for exaggeration. But the main point is that the idea is presented as if it is a fact. Contrast that to the other three moods, called collectively the oblique moods. The subjunctive presents what may happen, but what is uncertain, often an if statement. The optative expresses what is possible, but is extremely unlikely to happen, a wish. This is even further removed from reality than the subjunctive. The imperative presents what is possible if someone else decides to make it happen, a command or a wish. Believe it or not, this is the furthest removed from reality because the person who's speaking has no control over whether or not this happens. Now, they can try to force someone to do what they're commanding them to do, but they really don't have any control over whether or not this action happens. So, for example, if the sky is blue, it is not raining is subjunctive. If the sky is red at morning, there will be bad weather, also subjunctive. They present a possibility. Oh, that someone would help me is optative, and we don't have this in English, but it's expressed in such a way as to say, I don't think this is going to happen. It's very unlikely that this will happen. God bless you is also optative. Again, not exactly in English, but it's contingent upon whether or not God is going to bless. So it's a little bit different. This is almost a third person imperative too, which we're going to get to shortly, but it's in the idea of a wish there. Now, go outside. That's imperative. If I tell you to do that, I have no control whether or not you do it unless I physically come and pick you up, in which case you haven't done the going. Now I've caused you to go. And so when I say it in the imperative, go, I don't actually have any control over whether or not it happens. Close the door, also imperative. Now, if you're already familiar with imperative and you're looking at this going, what does it really matter that it's removed from reality? That's not really going to affect anything other than just you understanding why an imperative is different from an indicative. But you probably are rather familiar with imperative already in English and its commands just like you would expect it to be. In English, imperatives are expressed by the verb with no subject or with an understood you for a subject. So go to school, please help me. They have no subjects. In Greek, because the imperative mood is not indicative, the tense refers to aspect, not to time. So there's very little difference in meaning to us between the present and the aorist. Aorist imperatives refer to the action without saying anything about its duration or repetition. So, for example, blepson is an aorist active imperative second singular. It means look. Present imperatives are progressive and view the action as continuing or being repeated. So blepe would be present active imperative second singular, sort of like continue looking or begin looking and keep doing so. Has a little bit of that idea of duration. We're not really going to bring that across much into English, but as we've said before with many other topics, if you're studying this passage or if you're preaching a passage or teaching a passage that has this in there, you can bring that out in your teaching or preaching or focus on that in your study and realize that there is a slight nuance difference there. As I said, in English, we don't make this distinction unless there's a reason from the context. Translate all of these as simple imperatives such as look, walk, go, or come. That's how we're going to translate them. No helping verbs needed. In English, all imperatives are second person, whether singular or plural. We don't make a distinction. Greek has an additional feature of the imperative called the third person imperative. The best way we can express this in English is with the word must. So for example, blepeto is present active imperative third singular. He must see. or blepitosan, present active imperative third plural, they must see. Now, in Old English, like you'll see in the King James, you'll see the word let in there, like let him see or let them see. And that to us in modern English sounds like asking for permission. So, for example, let him see sounds like someone is blocking the guy's eyes and they're asking for the blockage to be removed, maybe a blindfold or something. But that's not what it meant in Old English. It was a way of expressing that this needs to happen to this other person, but we don't have a third person imperative in English. So that's the way they used to do it. Now we'll use must. It's much clearer for us. But do realize that that carries the force of a command just for somebody other than the one who's receiving the command. The imperative presents what is possible if someone else decides to make it happen, a command or a wish. English does not make a distinction between present and aorist imperatives. Second person imperatives should be translated without a subject, which I didn't mention here. They will show up in Greek with a subject very often. We'll need to delete that subject when we come into English because we don't use one. And a third person imperative should be translated with the helping verb must.